Here with my monthly update for the month of February 2016. A little late, but my life has been a bit chaotic in the last month. I'll actually start off with my section called Life, the Universe and Everything. I've successfully found my eldest daughter a house for her to purchase, and she's purchasing it, and we have gone through all the approval process and are now into settlement. That was all good, because previously explained, myself, my wife and 4 daughters does make a very large family, and my eldest daughter has actually moved out once and rented, but she's willing to have another go, and this time has bought a house. So that was all very exciting, and then the boyfriend proposed, so I'm going to have a new son-in-law at some stage in the future. So very, very interesting month as far as that's concerned. Then we move later on in the month, and this is mostly within the last week or so. That same eldest daughter slipped over at work, and we thought she'd broken her wrist, but luckily it was just heavily bruised. The next day, the third eldest was having a shower in our ensuite bathroom, which is the only bathroom we actually have a bath in as well, I'll explain. And basically the shower base collapsed partway through the floor. Luckily she wasn't hurt. I'll put up some pictures of some lovely damaged bathroom if I remember. And what it encompasses, this bathroom is only 12 years old. The house is 100 years old, but the bathroom is only 12 years old. And apparently when the people that installed it, they didn't check their pieces of pipe, and there was a piece of pipe that it obviously had near something, they'd melted in their truck or whatever, so they'd installed it, so the wall of it was very thin. And at some stage a little pinprick hole went through this pipe, and this pipe is a mains pressure pipe. So, and it has been mist spraying the bottom of our floorboards under our house probably for the last 10 years. So suffice to say, as soon as we removed the tiles, which were covered in mould on the back of the tiles and the concrete board, the entire floor collapsed. So we're still in the process of sorting this out. So I'm only going through all this. I don't normally do personal stuff, but that's why my video content has been a little bit low this month. I simply haven't had time. And plus, I have been doing a lot of development, which I'll get more into later in the video as well, so which is something I prefer to do, and really haven't done a tremendous lot of gaming, which is more the pity. But I have done some gaming, and it is related to a couple of the other pickups. So the very first one that I'll have, and it arrived fairly early on the month, and I'm really happy that I saw this on PlayAsia and pre-ordered it, as it's well, let's put it this way, awesome. It's for the PlayStation Vita. I haven't actually had a chance to try it in the PlayStation TV yet. I really must do that, because I reckon it'll play excellent with a PS3 or PS4 controller as well. And it is Darius Burst. And if you're in any way a horizontal shooter fan, and especially of the Darius series, I can highly recommend this game. There's lots of content on there. It really captures the spirit of the series well, and is an excellent game. I believe there's a PS4, a straight PS4 version. I thought that was a lot more expensive, the PS4 version, so this was the more affordable option, and I thought, well, I can play this on my handheld when I'm waiting for the kids' places, and I haven't regretted this at all. This has stayed in my Vita. So pretty much on my Vita I have this as a card, I have Geometry Wars as a download, which was one of the free PSN titles. I have TXK from Jeff Minter, one of the only digital games that I have bought, and I'm a very happy chappy on that as a handheld. So that's what I use my Vita for the most, those games. Then perhaps a little bit after that, my electronics friend, that's the best way to describe him, who has helped repair a couple of items and on a fairly regular basis drops off, and usually drops off some stuff that he found, had a really good find. These are, and these especially in Australia are extremely hard to come by, these are brand new 3-inch floppy disks. Obviously can be used for the Amstrad unit, obviously the Spectrum one with a 3-inch disc, and also more importantly for the Einstein. So I finally got some blank discs. I've only well, I don't actually have any discs at all for my Amstrad disc system at all, so I haven't even tested that part of it, so I'll use one of them for that. But you know, I don't have any spare discs for my Einstein, so I haven't actually used it for ages. So I really appreciate it. Just showed up one day and gave those to me, so really appreciative that he did that. And this last pickup of the other pickups was actually only just the other day. It has a bit of a story behind it. We've had a retailer here in Australia that's been around since I was a little kid, and I think goes back before, I'm not actually sure when the retail chain opened, but it's called Dick Smith's. And they were the electronics store that I used to go into when I was growing up, and they had computers and they had electronic parts and electronic kits, and a lot of the going into those stores explains my passion for electronics and also computers. I used to play on the System 80s and later on the Colecovision, which is very similar to the MSX series of machines in graphics capabilities, and what was published in Australia as the Dick Smith Wizard. Used to go in there and play with the stuff all the time, so a lot of my childhood was spent in there. Now, Dick Smith himself sold the actual chain of stores many years ago to our Big W chain of stores. And then later on, Dick Smith's, that chain then bought up Tandy's when they got into a bit of trouble. So we lost all our Tandy stores and they all became Dick Smith stores, and some of them shut down, so we don't have our Tandies anymore either. And more so, all the Dick Smiths have been selling TVs, laptops, and other more consumer items. They've completely lost that electronic store feel of them, so they're no different from any other retailer of that kind. And of course, they've run completely into trouble. They've tried to sell the business, which has failed, and now they are closing. So I believe it is 384 stores across Australia and New Zealand, and almost 3,800 staff who will lose their jobs from this video. I think it's only about another 4 or 5 weeks to go. So they're clearing, obviously they're not getting any more stock in, they're clearing out all of their stock. So I went in and had a look. I got my wife a nice power board with built-in USBs so she can charge all her devices, and I saw this. And it's a Logitech 3D Pro. We've got a better picture on the back. I'll hold up the real thing in a second. So it is a flight stick for the PC, and I think it was in my previous video I showed that I got Elite Dangerous. I really haven't had a chance to play it. I have played it a little bit, but with the mouse and keyboard I haven't been able to get that far. Now, I've only had one session with this. There's the beastie there. And most important things is, it's got things like your throttle, and you've got backwards and forwards, you can turn there, you've got buttons here, there. It's got lots and lots of buttons which you can map, and there's more buttons down here that you can map to all sorts of functions. So you can pretty much fly the majority of the ship from this joystick. I downloaded a default mappings file for it, and I've got up to the stage of playing with that and adjusting it. So I'm very happy with that so far, and I got that for a very good price. It was only 20% off, but still it was, I hadn't actually seen those in there before anyway, so I'm very happy to get that. So that's all for my other pickups for the month, but as I said, I've been busy doing some other things, and yeah, haven't had a chance to play many games other than having a little dabble with the Leap, obviously playing Darius Burst. I did get a little bit of time on the PS4 during the month, and I've almost finished Wolfenstein The Old Blood, I think it's called. I've been quite enjoying that one because I enjoyed the first one. So feel my throat getting dry. It's actually quite hot here today. Coffee. Okay, next. As I often do in these videos lately, I will have a go at Novabug's latest Friday Foursome. It's a really interesting topic. It's called basically my 4 favourite developers and or publishers. These will be in no particular order. The first one I'm going to pick is from the PC side of things, and they are LucasArts, and they brought things like, of course, X-Wing and TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, and Jedi Knight Dark Forces, as well as more. I have quite a large library of LucasArts games, notwithstanding all of the point-and-click adventures. I haven't necessarily played all of those, but yeah, I love Star Wars and have to include LucasArts. They were phenomenal at the games they brought out, and how much I played them and enjoyed them, which I think counts when you're picking your favourite of something. You know how much you played the games from those people. So my next one, I said these are in no particular order, would have to be Namcot. So the division of Namco that brought out the home versions of a lot of really good games. I've just got a couple of examples here. You know, things like Galaga for the MSX, really good version. One of my absolute favourite arcade games and one of the best home versions of Bosconian. Don't have the little wrapper thing around here or the top label, but I don't care, it works. Fantastic game. They also have, I didn't grab it, they have things like Mappy and of course Galaxians as well, Rally X, just heaps of titles, and most of those titles they brought out for the NES as well. And they even brought out a couple of titles for the Sword M5, so they were quite good at quality conversions across the different systems. Now for my next favourite, and even though these sort of aren't in order, they sort of are, I could easily pick this publisher as number 1, and they are Activision. In the 2600 games, they showed what could be done with the 2600, introducing a much better, shall we say, way of addressing the screen, so you could get more colour, lots of colour variation, and they made some really, really good games. And they converted those games to virtually every computer and console under the sun, and what's so fantastic about those conversions is they are extremely evenly ported. You get Hero on just about any of those systems, and it plays and looks really, really good. By the way, MSX version, excellent. And then one of my absolute favourite games from them, Beam Rider, very consistent across all systems, and even like the Intellivision version is one of my favourite games across versions of Beam Rider. It plays so well, it shows what they could do with a piece of hardware when they put their minds to it. And of course, I can't hold up this without doing River Raid. I've done all the shoot 'em ups, haven't I? I should have grabbed at least Pitfall or Pitfall 2, and then you've got games like Kaboom and heaps of different variety of games that Activision produced, both for so many different systems. Obviously they didn't convert all of their games to all the different systems, but they converted a lot of their games to every system, and they took pride and care to make those versions as good as possible. And as I said, for the MSX, there are tape versions of most of their releases, and there are also cartridge versions, which are extremely rare and fought over on the auction sites. I can tell you that much. I'm not winning any of those lately. They're getting rather expensive. And I suppose, so at the end of the day, my favourite at the end of the day would have to be Konami, because of how much they supported the MSX and how good those games are. From Goonies, one of my favourites. It's just a flick screen platformer, but it's got great music, really good gameplay, and a lot of game in there to play. Antarctic Adventure, which I've only got a loose cartridge of, or the sequel Penguin Adventure. a simple concept, but it's just put together with really good music, sound, intermission sequences, and the character has character. And then of course, you know, the real reason that I really do like Konami are all of the shoot 'em ups. One example here, one of the Gradius games, which is Gradius 2 Episode 2, or Gradius 3 as it's also known. Really good game. I mean, this one supports both normal MSX and MSX2, has an extra sound chip on it, giving you FM sound, and is a 2 megabit ROM. So there is mounds and mounds of game there. And then you get into the MSX2 area where you've got things like Space Mambo, which I showed recently, and of course the original Castlevania game, only by a month. Though, to be fair, they were made at the same time, but this was released 1 month before the Nintendo version, and it is Vampire Killer. And it is actually a more complicated game than the Nintendo version, and it's a really good game. One of my absolute favourite games in total on the MSX. So there we go. That was a really good question. I really liked that one. I'm pretty late. There's not much time. But if you want to quickly knock out a response and get yours in for Novabug's Friday Foursome, I'll put links down below. Alright, and my throat's starting to dry up again. So next, Homebrew. I have been very busy this month. I have been still beavering away on a Super Nintendo project for Colecovision, helping out with that one, but I've also put a lot of the finishing touches on my conversion of my Meteor Swarm game to the NES. It's in what I call final beta now, so we're down to any little niggling bugs, but basically the gameplay style is set now. I've made it more NES-like than it was when I showed it last. Hopefully some video will be up there. So I've used more of the NES colour palette and the multiple colours that you can have there. I've added, over the original game, you now have two different types of UFOs. You've got small UFO and the large UFO. Small UFO is worth a lot more points. And to fix that old end of level thing where you can leave one meteor and just wait for UFOs to come out, I now have a mine that comes out. And it comes out and it explodes, and it can obviously get rid of that last little floating meteor, or it can kill you, and it's extremely, you can't kill it with one shot. And the points you get for it vary for the level, so you only get a little bit of amount of points for it in the lower levels, and you've got to progress further to get higher points. So it balances the challenge on the game. The game also has two modes. It has hyperspace and shields now as well, so you've got two different game styles. You can set the starting lives and you can set the starting levels. Have a little bit of a really early preliminary box art. We're still working out where all the bits and pieces, and we've got to write the text and the manual. So it'll be another couple of weeks and the game should go off to get made. So hopefully I'll show you the final. I'll probably make a special video on the game and show the final cover and the a little bit of gameplay of the final game as it went off to production. But that'll be another couple of weeks away. But I just thought I'd tell you all about it. Now, my future projects, Bezerk for the Colecovision, is definitely happening. My intent with that version, and during my Christmas break I already worked out from the arcade code the maze logic, so it is already arcade perfect as far as the mazes in the arcade game. There's a certain type of logic and randomness there. I'll still have to dig in and work out the robots, movement logic and things like that, but I'm a bit busy on other things, so I won't get back to that for a little while. It will have speech in it and will support the normal, unexpanded Colecovision as its first primary objective. It's not designed to have to be used with any other expansion device, whether it be the Super Game module or any other voice modules out there. When we get the main part of the game finished, we may support some of these other devices. We'll see what happens as things go along. I'm working with a good friend of mine who's done the graphics for the game, But the speech, I'm actually going to take that from the original arcade game and emulate it as closely as possible. At the very least, in the unexpanded Coleco, where you don't have a lot of RAM, we'll have speech in the parts where the game's not moving, and we'll see how I go with the frame rate on doing any speech inside the game. As far as the speech itself, we can simply use a Super Game cartridge if we run out of, you've got 32K of ROM space in a normal cartridge, which is actually a lot. The Bezerk code is not huge. So we'll see how we go in getting as much speech, but I would like to get the game as arcade perfect as possible. And that's a bit of a passion project for mine. Also related new, Pyxidis, which I haven't talked about for a little while, has sort of been on the shelf in a bit of testing, but it came up in the testing roundup, so there will probably be some more movement on that one as well, and that's for the Colecovision. So that's all it is for Homebrew. Now my other series and things are still going on. Because of the month, I just did not have time to work on Let's Make a Retro Game. Really apologise for that. I know a lot of people love that series. I like that series as well. But there's a considerable amount more filming and editing effort in making those episodes. And, you know, I have actually written and scripted quite a lot for that now. It's just quite simply capturing, talking and working through, and then doing some editing, getting that done. I'll see how my life goes this month and get some more of that out. My A to Z of my MSX collection series is still going on. We're getting right up there in letters. I'm going to have to try and think of another series after that. I was thinking maybe I could have a try of that series for the PC Engine next. How about that? That's comments. I appreciate comments down below on that, on what I could do after the A to Z of the MSX. Yeah, so anyway, hope everybody has had a good month out there, and everybody keep on gaming. I'm Electric Adventures. Thanks to all my subscribers. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.